On occasion, they break, they explode. If something's hot, they don't last very long, like a matter of minutes, sometimes a matter of seconds. It's a ridiculous situation. So,
welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad and John never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
It is the BJ Show. Today's date is the 19th of November. Did I get it correct, John Combest?
You absolutely did, Brad Hildebrand.
John, before we get into the show, I have a quick rundown. I have 4 brief points I want to mention, 2 of which are directly interesting to you, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, number 1 is I'm on the verge of being sick again. I know this is getting old. I'm feeling my stupid gallbladder attack coming on. I've been fighting it for the past 2-3 hours. I'll be honest with you. I think I can make it through the show, but if I get bad at the end of B block, you don't mind if we don't do a C block? Is that okay with you?
Of course, Brad. Of course.
Number 2, Epenthampi alert. They were talking about on 97.1 this morning. Mark Cox is on with Dan Buck this morning, and they were talking about the marijuana versus hemp wars, and I think you might find it interesting. And I know you go back and listen to some of the stuff, and you listen to or look at some of the transcripts. They have a guest on at 8 o'clock who is some guy who apparently is doing alcoholic beverages with THC in it. He's in Union, Missouri, and supposedly they're going to talk to him because he says this new law is going to knock him out of business. So I thought you might find that interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for that, Brad.
Okay, number 3, I have new software, and there's a crazy, weird story about the software here, and hopefully I'll make it through the morning. It's like I'm the walking wounded. And to give you an idea, John, I'm not currying your favor or anything like that. You don't think I'd do anything. I started on this yesterday afternoon about 3 o'clock, and I finished last night around midnight. So hopefully the software is going to work through the entire morning. I'll explain more in C Block. And then number 4, I have an interesting Michael Burton story to tell, which you may find interesting. So,
nice. Hey, I have number 5 before we get into the top 3. Can I give you a number 5?
Yeah, what's number 5?
It's a typical John praising Brad story. I was driving through a certain geographic area, and I have Westplex 107.1 on, and I hear a mechanical AI voice, and I think, oh my goodness, what is Brad selling now? And I heard the ad for stepuptoradio.com.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yeah, I thought it was really good, Brad, and I went to the website. Now, remind me, I don't know if you recall, but sometime in late 2023 or early 2024, on this show, I suggested that you should use your institutional radio knowledge and sell a guide to how to do a radio show. So I don't know if you remember that, Brad. And I also said you should add a video component too. So I don't know if you remember that, but yes, I'm glad that you took wherever you happen to get the idea of doing an online guide, an ebook to help people go from podcasting into radio.
You know, it's interesting you should mention that because I put that up yesterday, the day before, and I've gotten some interesting feedback. I've gotten some attaboys from some of my radio friends, and I've gotten some really nasty comments from, I guess, anti-radio people. I don't really know, but we can talk about that in C Block. That's if I lie.
If you make it to C Block, Brad, I want you to, you know what the group Heart said? Listen to your gallbladder when it's calling to you.
What's the country song? Gonna make it through the night. Or which one's that? Isn't that?
I think it's the song that the Asian guy sang. Jesus take the we.
That is John. I don't know. That's John Combest, Combest. Plus, maybe I'll add this to the list in C Block. We got a compliment yesterday from an interesting source. But anyway, that's John Combest, Combest. If you've never been to johncombest.com, what's a mod of you, as Mike Otten, a.k.a. Info Dude, would say, but that's a whole other story. What's a mod of you? You need to go and check it out. It's this interesting site, nothing fancy, where every single day for the past 24 years, John Combest, who never misses a day, has put together this site, and it's links of all the important stuff, sort of like the Drudge Report for the state of Missouri. Now, but what we do is, sometimes he's got like 3, 4, 5 dozen things on there, but we curate it. That's the NPR term. This is curated, John. John Combest. We're curating johncombest.com. Did I do that in the proper NPR voice, John? Did that sound okay to you?
You got to take it down 4 more decibels.
Oh, okay. John Combest curated site.
Whisper. It's the whisper song. Thank you, Brad.
Better. Okay. So we start off with this guy who we dust off from a grave in Holland somewhere.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And he starts us off with...
In third place...
We're going to start with good, specific news. We're going to move to a heartstring tug. And then we're going to move to a technical topic that Brad could probably answer, certainly way better than I could answer. Let's start with the good and specific news. Just up the road, just up beautiful Highway 61 in Troy, Missouri. A headline from multiple sources. Let's go with Jack Suntrup of the Post-Dispatch. Toyota adding jobs to Troy, Missouri plant in hybrid vehicle push. Here's how Jack starts off. Toyota is adding a new production line to its Troy, Missouri facility and hiring dozens of new workers as it attempts to meet growing demand for hybrid vehicles. Now, Brad, this is a topic that you're uniquely equipped to discuss. You know much more about conventional vehicles versus electric versus hybrid than do I. We could probably get to that in a minute. The automaker said in a news release that it would invest exactly $57.1 million in its Troy casting plant, where Toyota will add a new cylinder head, production line to open in 2027. And here's the kicker, 57 jobs. Now, what I like about this announcement is that it's specific. You know, everybody else comes in to an area and says, we're going to add hundreds of jobs. We're going to add dozens of jobs. Oh, Toyota has some Asian precision, and they know that the number is going to be 57. 57 jobs, $57.1 million invested in the facility. So I think everybody could agree, good news for Troy, right?
Well, you know, there's an interesting part of that story that I don't know if you're aware or not. Originally, that plant...
Does it have to do with someone driving in the fast lane to Jeff City?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
That plant, the Toyota company, and this is sort of interesting because I know a little bit more about this than I should. Originally, Toyota came into St. Louis and bought an existing... I guess you call it a foundry plant called Bodine Aluminum, Bodine. And Bodine had a reputation for extremely good work. And that was in St. Louis County off of Page and 170. And I knew exactly where it was. And I would tell people, you know, they make engine blocks right there in St. Louis County at Page and 170 for Toyotas. People go, no, they don't. Well, so they got so good at what they did that they built a plant in Troy, and they kept the one in St. Louis County going. And the business in Troy got so good, and they outgrew that space in St. Louis County, they moved everything up in Troy. And I think this is actually the third edition of that plant. Originally, it was built up there, and they did a second edition. And then the second edition was when they moved the St. Louis area. They shut that one down, moved it up to Troy. And this is the third edition. So, yes, that's good news. And let me tell you, those guys do excellent work because when you're a supplier for, well, they actually work for Toyota. Toyota does not take crappy parts. You know what I'm saying? They are renowned for being extremely picky about who they do business with. Now it's owned by them. But they do great work, and it's great news for Lincoln County. It really is.
Hey, listen, Brad, all I have to say is, hungry, eat your import.
Is that number?
Remember those bumper stickers?
Yes. Is that number 2? Or that?
No, that is not number 2. That was, I do want to say, though, that this story notes that in the Bodine plant, 4 people who had been let go actually moved on. They changed their name to the Bodines, and they sang, I'll be there for you when we move to Troy.
Okay, we're ready for number 2.
Yeah, let's do it, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
Brad, this is the story that's a heartstring tug. I'm clutching the area of my body where a heart should be. Ballwin, Missouri, reports Fox 2 News. A Ballwin mother is fighting to keep her family together as her husband and father of their 2 young daughters face deportation in President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Now, I don't mean to be flippant here, Brad, because the story has a strong kicker at the end that has to do with a GoFundMe. Imagine that. But Lexi Perez is a 1-year-old. Her first steps will come with her dad's empty shoes by the front door. Alejandro Perez, 33, is now fighting deportation from a jail cell. He did, well, mostly nothing wrong. Her husband, or excuse me, this woman's husband, the woman who set up the GoFundMe, the husband has been indicted on a federal count of illegally re-entering the United States in 2012. So apparently he self-deported a little before that. And then he happened to just wander back into the country, right? No harm, no foul. Deport yourself, self-deport, and then come back whenever you want. Now, this woman met him working at a restaurant in 2019. They got married in 2020, and they started a family. And they were totally going to make sure that he became a legal citizen. But, you know, there's stuff you got to do, and there's paperwork, and, oh, I don't know. There's just stuff that didn't get done. And this woman also says that she got some bad legal advice, Brad. Now, I think it's dignified of her or telling that she doesn't say exactly what bad legal advice she got or what person supposedly gave her bad legal advice. Was it an attorney? Was it another taco chef? We don't know who it was. But Fox 2 went and asked elected officials what they thought about this. And Eric Schmitt said, hey, there's a lot of heartstring tugs. So let me give you the direct quote, actually, from Senator Schmitt. I know that there are going to be instances that tug at the heartstrings. But the fact of the matter is, Joe Biden opened up our border and stopped enforcing immigration law, and communities have suffered. There's been a lot of crime. People have been displaced from their jobs. Now, one more point I make before we discuss, Brad. Fox 2 reached out to Hawley's office. You know, they had gotten a comment from Schmitt. They went to Hawley's office. They went to Ann Wagner's office, who represents the Ballwin area. And a spokesman for Wagner said they needed a waiver, she being Wagner, needed a waiver from Janie Perez before discussing the case. So out of respect to this woman, Ann Wagner's office isn't going to comment on the specifics of this case. However, Janie Perez says she has been in contact at some length with Hawley's office and Wagner's offices. So this woman says that she's been in communication with Hawley and Wagner, probably to see if there's anything they can do. And to reference something I mentioned briefly, Brad, it may not surprise you that this woman has a GoFundMe account set up. And all that money, she says, is going to go to legal fees. So maybe they can get good legal advice versus, I don't know, a fly-by-night attorney, or maybe, I don't know, a burrito barista. You get what I'm saying? So a heartstring tug from Fox 2, Brad.
John, have you ever seen this little clip from the Bill Maher show? Well, where he's interviewing Tom Homan, the DHS, you know, the Homeland Security guy. Have you ever seen this before?
I don't think so, no.
It's pretty interesting because Maher comes off as, you know, like the bleeding heart liberal. Hey, we were told that only the bad people are going to be deported, that only the worst of the worst were going to be deported. Now you're going after all these people that have come here and they've started a family and they've got a business. And then he throws it to Tom Homan, and I'm thinking to myself, man, that's a tough question. Tom Homan just hesitates for about 2 seconds, and I think it was a great response. He says, "Look, here's the deal." I'm paraphrasing what he says. There's people that have tried to come to this country and are right now trying to come to this country the legal way. They're going through the legal procedure. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're taking the tests. They're doing the background tests. And the reason we are going after the people who have not done it legally is because they are jumping the line. Now, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. I'm thinking to myself, that was a great answer, because I know 2 people who are naturalized citizens who've said the same thing, that they went through all these steps to become a naturalized American citizen. They're very proud of the fact that they did it, and they're somewhat resentful is that people can just come across the border and go, I'm an American now. You know what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying, Brad. And I am at times a bit flippant. Well, pretty much about everything in life. But in the case of this woman, perhaps let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this guy self-deported, snuck back in over the border, and then really put forth some sort of an effort. And let's say he did talk to some freebie public defender, public service type immigration attorney, and maybe he did get bad. Maybe he did get bad advice, in which case, let him do the right paperwork, let him stay. And if he's clearly been working, let him actually pay taxes, pay federal taxes, etc., and let him be on his way. You know what I mean? But when I hear stories like this, Brad, I'm immediately skeptical.
Are you skeptical because of the GoFundMe account? Is that what the red
mean,
flag is?
It's pretty convenient that that's set up. But you know what? Maybe it actually will pay for legal fees. Who knows?
Well, at times, I have to be honest with you. I've said it before in this show. I think it's sad. I mean, some of these people are good people. We talked about the guy in Staunton, that the people in Staunton are like rallying around. But once again, he broke the rules. And it's like anything in life. If you're a great person and you don't do anything wrong, and then one day you get upset and you punch somebody at the McDonald's, and when the police come, you could say, "Hey, I've never done anything before." They go, "Yeah, but you just decked that guy."
Yeah. The I've done nothing bad before isn't a good excuse. And if this guy wants good advice, he should go to stepupthecitizenship.com. And for only $1, he can learn from a 50-year-plus veteran of citizenship how to do it the right way. Did you know 100% of non-citizens, 99% of non-citizens, if given the choice, would become citizens? There's always that 1% that's just happy where they are.
When I cut myself, it really takes a lot of effort because I'm very thick-skinned, because otherwise I could not do the show with John Combest. Okay,
thank you, Brad. I'm glad that you take my compliments in stride.
The number one.
Speaking of compliments, Brad, here is a subject about offshore websites and domain names for which you are uniquely positioned to answer these questions. As folks heard on yesterday's show, Brad, you created your first website in the mid-1900s when you were a child. You and Al Gore created the internet together. Now, I'm going to choose words very carefully, Brad, because I don't want YouTube to age restrict this particular segment, if you follow what I'm saying here. We're going to use the phrase adult sites. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Okay, so we'll just talk about adult sites. We won't say a P word here because we don't need to be restricted here. Everybody of every age should hear us, Brad. A headline from Elisa Nelson from MissouriNet. New Missouri regulation coming, requiring adult sites to verify user age. Now, this is Catherine Hanaway talking about restricting access to adult sites and having people give an identification and making adult sites give identification before they can access these sites. So one of the quotes from Hanaway is, "It's a big problem everywhere that kids are not prohibited from getting onto these adult sites. It has a corrosive effect, obviously, on the culture and those kids in particular, and it normalizes this type of stuff to them." So here's the regulation piece, Brad, and then here's my follow-up to you. Hanaway's regulation will apply to commercial websites and platforms where 1/3 or more of the content is adult-oriented or explicit. So what I don't get about this, and before I ask you the question, I want to give credit to Elijah Haar down at KWTO in Springfield. Elijah has done a number of shows about this, and when policy folks come on, Elijah asks really good questions about these policies. But there's something that I still don't understand, Brad. Wouldn't it be easy for someone who was determined to get around some sort of regulation, whether you're a company or an individual, isn't it almost impossible to stop this kind of stuff from coming onto your iPad? You get what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. The answer is yes. I mean, this is all sort of, touchy-feely kind of stuff. And this is my complaint about government in general is that, and we make fun of the Adam Schnelting thing, at least I do. But a lot of times it's like, hey, look at me. I'm trying to protect your kids. I'm trying to protect your dogs or that kind of thing. And most of the time, what they're doing is it can't happen. It's not going to work.
It's unrealistic is what you're saying.
Yes, it's to the point where I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, I'm a gun guy. Okay, if you go on gun sites now, there's a lot of when you can buy guns online, you have to go through an FFL. You can't just, they can't ship it to you. You have to ship it to a local gun store, and then you buy it there. You go through the background check. But now the gun sites, they ask you, are you 18 years of age or older? And to the point where, like, how do they know? It could,
of course, right?
If you say yes, and you're 14, are the internet police going to come and arrest you or something like that? I mean, how, and to the point where there's probably some regulation through the ATF that they said, oh, if you're selling guns online, you have to verify that the people who are looking at your gun site are 18.
And it makes everybody feel better because they say, well, we have regulations in place.
Right. We ask if they're over 18 or not, and they said yes. So
yeah, and nobody would ever nobody lies on the internet.
Right. John, there was a time going back in the history of driver's license where a friend of mine used to do, he was actually back in the day before you had all the fancy stuff that you did like for graphics. There was a thing called, remember does the Croy type machine ring a bell to you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, that must have predated me.
Okay, if you were a graphic designer back in the day, and I have a couple friends of mine that did this years and years and years ago, there was a machine that you put stuff in and it would print out these strips. And then you would stick it on like paper, like post up sheets or stuff like that. And you would create a graphic. Okay, a friend of mine was real good at that. And he was a graphic designer. And he was really good with the X-Acto knife. You know what an X-Acto knife is, John?
I do know, yeah.
So what he was good at in the days of the paper driver's licenses, he would take like people's expired licenses. And if you needed to change your birth date to like 1962 instead of 1965, he would just go one of his old driver's license and he would cut that out and like the one digit, and then he would, with his X-Acto knife, cut the hole in the good driver's license and stick it in there with a little glue in it. You couldn't tell the difference. You know what I'm saying, John?
Wow, that's a lot of people went to a lot of effort to drink illegally in the 1960s.
Right, you can't do that anymore because the driver's license have got so much better. But
they're so much more advanced. And so this seems as though it's a thing that's, well-intentioned but hard to enforce, unless there's something I'm missing there. And it's entirely possible there's elements I'm missing there, but it seems really easy to skirt.
You bring up Catherine Hanaway. We'll talk about her in C Block if I make it that long, because she was in the news yesterday. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you?
I do know. Yeah, I have several links to it up today, Brad.
Right, and that's sort of an interesting story because you know what? You know what we need to do? You know what we need before we move on to this? I can find it real quick. Hold on.
You need to play a clip. You need to play a clip of Golden Dice or a 2012 clip of a black woman being sassy.
No. Here's what I need to do. Imagine this guy you're going to hear. He is a federal guy, and he's talking to the state. Oh, no, I got that backwards. This is a state guy, and he's talking to the feds. You ready, John?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along?
Get where I'm heading with that, John?
I do, yeah. And if your gallbladder doesn't hold out, you're going to need a little PCP to get through the pain.
I will. Okay, we have to take a break.